Hello there and welcome to Stay Live. We're delighted to have back on our show today Mr. Rex Pickett. Hi Rex, how are you?
Hi, Thitia. How are you doing?
I'm good. And listen, Rex, we've seen you some months ago and we were talking about the writing of Sideways the Play, right? And today is actually
Mm.
the big day. It's going to be the premiere of the play in the theater. So, tell us all about it.
Well, tonight we've been working almost a year and a half on the play when they first approached me, and yeah, tonight is the big premiere at the Ruskin Group Theatre in Santa Monica, which is in Los Angeles on the coast, and we're sold out tonight, sold out tomorrow night, and I'm very excited. We're pouring high-end Pinot Noir from a different producer every night in proper stemware, so that part of it is exciting. But of course, I hope people, love the play. So.
And listen, tell us a bit about the writing process. How much was different for you to write this time a theater play from your novel?
That's a really good question, and they approached me, like I said, almost a year and a half ago, and the first thing I had to do was go and read my novel just to see if I thought it could be a play. I've never written a play before, so I've read a lot of plays. I've seen theater, not a lot though, and when I read the novel, I realized that it was a very dialogue and character-driven novel, largely because, as we talked last time, Sideways was originally a screenplay. It didn't work, and then I wrote it as a novel. So when I went back to read it, I realized, my gosh, there's a lot of dialogue in here, and what is a play? A play is all dialogue. So the process started with doing a first draft, and I did, and it was very long. It was 164 pages. And then we had what's called a cold read. You bring in actors, you hand them scripts, they sit around a table and they read it, and they time it. It's in 2 acts, and they'll time it, and they get kind of a rough idea of what it is. And then we sit down, we have notes, and a lot of it has been about basically compression. I took 50 pages out of that first draft, and they would tell me things like, well, you have 15 tertiary characters, and so we're never going to have those 15 people. This is a small theater. This is equity waiver. These people aren't getting paid very much at all. And so I had to take out a lot of tertiary characters and just sort of keep compressing it. And then we did a second cold read, and there was more cutting down of the play, which was fine. And then we went to the hiring of the director, and what was wonderful was I got to hire the director. They sent me different people, and I chose a 30-year-old woman, Amelia Mulkey, to direct the play. And then she and I really started to collaborate on the writing. It was now just the two of us. And she was great. I just blogged about it yesterday. If you go to rexpickett.com, about the process. I'll be honest with you, it's been the single most rewarding creative experience of my life. I mean, when you write screenplays, you have to listen to a lot of other voices. They're not always intelligent voices. You have to hear oftentimes a lot of stupid things. With her and I, it's always been, she's never tried to impose her vision on me, but she never was like so in awe of the writing that she wasn't critical. You have to be critical in order to to make the play better. And bear in mind, as the director, she had one eye always on the stage and what she was going to be able to accomplish on this small equity waiver theater stage, and one eye on the text, but one eye always on the stage. And it's just been, then we would have more cold reads, and then we went into the casting process together. The writing has been, yes, I've gone through many drafts. Sometimes drafts are only like 30 minutes where I'm just changing a few things. Sometimes it was maybe a whole day. Not a lot really, but because the characters were there, the story was there. It was really just about, the writing was really about making it stageable, for the theater. That's really what it was about. We never argued. She said, I think we can cut this scene. We can, we can compress this scene. This transition won't work on the stage for this reason. And so a lot of it was for theatrical exigencies that I had to adhere to. And it just, I don't know. We never argued. We just kept compressing until we got to the finally to the casting process, and that was kind of grueling and arduous. But when we did, we were really lucky to get the people we did. Then everything, and this is what I blogged about it, everything moved very swiftly after that. I mean, even though I was to be involved in the production design, how the set would look, the costumes, and everything else, they were like, it wasn't like they were not involving me, but it was like they were just moving so fast they couldn't call me up and say, well, what do you think about this, Rex? What do you think about that? There just wasn't enough time. I mean, they were rehearsing, and meanwhile, construction workers were hammering up. I've never been involved in theater before. I've never done a play before. And it gets, I have a friend whose wife is Lynn Nottage. And Lynn Nottage wrote a play called Ruined that in 2009 won the Pulitzer Prize. And it also won the Tony Award and almost every other award, plus she won the MacArthur Genius Award. And she said to me 4 months ago, when I told her I was writing a play and I asked her for advice, she said, "Welcome to the madness." And 4 months ago, I wrote her back. I said, it's been pretty easy. I do a little writing, and but as soon as it was cast, I understood what she meant when she said, "Welcome to the madness," because it just all starts moving really fast. And then, then about, where are we today? Friday. So a week ago Tuesday, we had literally a week ago Tuesday, 10 days ago, we had the first dress rehearsal. It was the first time I saw the play with transitions, with costumes, with props. There's a lot of technical things. In fact, the Ruskin Group Theatre, they're celebrating their 10th anniversary, and they said this has been the most technically difficult and complicated play that they've ever put on in terms of the number of sound cues and lighting cues. There are over 24 scenes in this play, Thitia. It's a 2-act, but every scene requires a transition, and you can't just black out because the audience would probably blank out. And Amelia Mulkey, the director, devised these wonderful little playful, sometimes really brilliantly quirky transitions to keep the audience in the flow of the play. And it was the first time I saw it, and there were a lot of glitches. And then last week after the dress rehearsal, we had a preview for kind of family and friends. Then we had 2 sold-out previews, and I sat through one of those. Then we had last Saturday a private gala, and each time it just got better and better. It got exponentially better with each one of those. I mean, and I realized how just how fast the thing came together and how much work was involved. And then finally, after Saturday, they've been able this week to kind of relax a little bit, work on tightening the screws, but there isn't really much to change. It was kind of all over for me on Monday. I made a last few little word changes, and I had a couple notes. And tonight's the premiere.
Wow.
And I'll tell you one thing. I'm not that nervous. I'd hate to be an actor. I wonder if they slept last night,
It must be like a big emotional moment for them, I guess. And listen, I'm actually very interested about, the thing that you were saying of the stylistic choice of the transition made by Amelia. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Well, I mean, I can give you a couple specific examples. There's, for instance, there's a scene where the 2 of them are driving in the car. A lot of things got compressed. It's based on the book, not the movie, but I wanted the play to feel like the movie as much as possible. And there's a scene where they're driving and they're kind of hungover, and Jack tells Miles that his wife is getting, his ex-wife got remarried, and then finally he says, pull over. We have to go to a winery. And what in the play script, it just says lights go up, lights come down, but they have to change their costumes. They have to change the set. It would have been 2 minutes of blackness. And what Amelia did was she kind of had the 2 of them sort of doing like a little circle around a kind of like a post or something. And they had these signs that they kept rotating, saying Foxen Winery and Babcock Winery and Melville Winery. And as they were going around, as we lead into the next scene, they were kind of getting more and more inebriated. And when they're there, suddenly, it's that kind of little creative transition. There are, for instance, these Murphy beds that pull down from the wall. And first of all, you wouldn't be able to do that in the darkness. It would be hard. So she kind of staged this thing where she has like a maid and another guy, and they play like a little wordless almost pantomime while they're doing it. It's kind of charming and amusing. But meanwhile, what you don't know is outside the theater, costumes are getting changed really fast, and they're trying to get ready. And, so so she does a little kind of a creative little business each time in the transition. In other words, we never have a blackout. There's never a blackout in the play. This isn't, the theater is small and it's very intimate, so you can't really pull away a wall. You can't, like in a big theater, for instance, just shift the action over to the right side and just have the lights come up over there and have beds come out, where you could black out and suddenly be in the next scene within 30 seconds. We can't do that. These transitions take, anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes, and 2 minutes can be deadly if it's just black. And so that's what she did. In the play script, it just says lights go up, lights come down, but she did something different every time. And there are a lot of transitions in the play. So, those are the kind of creative decisions, aside from, of course, working with the actors, and early on, they were nervous about their roles, especially one individual, and although he ends up being one of the best in the play, and and worried about their motivations and everything, all this stuff, and but it all moving fast. I mean, you have premiere dates set and everything else, and you have to hit those dates, and so here we are today, May 18th, the premiere of the play. And what I saw at the gala, the private gala on last Saturday, they were definitely 90% of the play that I wanted to see. And the other maddening thing about theater is I've seen the actors be brilliant in scenes, and then another night not be bad, but not be great. It's a living thing, a theater. It's different every night. And also bear in mind too, Thitia, this is a comedy, and because it's a comedy, you have to hit these beats just right in a way, and sometimes they miss the beats, and it's different. As I say in theater, it's different every night. I mean, when you make a movie, and I've made 2 feature films, you can play with it in the editing room all you want. Of course, you're limited with what you have in the editing room, but you can get the timing any way you want it, because you have total control. But at this point, other than with the rehearsals and everything else and the words, I don't have any control at all. This thing I don't know what I'm going to see tonight. I'm assuming everyone has said to me, and this was the title of it all comes together opening night, I guess is kind of a cliche in theater, because they've worked so hard, and suddenly they'll have that sold out audience. They'll feed off the energy of the audience. And there's a lot of laughter. There was a lot of laughter last Saturday in the previews. And I think, they'll flub a line or two probably. And many people have told me the play is the best 2-3 weeks in. But of course, the critics will be there this weekend. And, so you want it. But I think they'll just be they'll give it their all tonight, I hope,
And listen, going back just 1 second to the casting process, how was for you actually to be involved in that?
I had to go out of town for a couple weeks, and it's kind of a long story, so I won't bore you with that. It was a PR trip to Texas, of all places, to research a screenplay. But and that was interesting. So I was gone for 2 weeks. So I had finished the final draft, and they had decided at that point that, okay, now it was time to go to the casting, and that's when they set the dates. So they have what are called breakdowns, which are just synopsis of the various characters, and they go out over the internet to all the casting directors and everything else. And of course, they're deluged with submissions from tons of people, many of whom are just totally not right or whatever. Bear in mind, there's no money in this play, so it's not like we're going to get celebrities to want to come and give up 12 weeks of their life for little or no money. It's not that kind of thing. So you're really going after the LA theater world here, which is fine. I'd like to see new faces. I wouldn't want to have, for instance, somebody mentioned David Duchovny to play Miles, and he probably would be brilliant, but the play would be about David Duchovny. It wouldn't be about Sideways so much. So they had the breakdowns, and I wasn't involved in that. They winnowed Amelia Mulkey, and the managing director Mikey Myers was very involved in this, and he's just without that guy, I don't know if this play would have ever gone on. So they winnowed through all of that, and they started to audition, and I wasn't involved in the audition. So when I got back from Texas, I saw the callbacks, and it was 3 days of hearing scenes over and over and over again. Now, bear in mind, I've made 2 feature films. That was a long time ago. So I have been involved in some sort of casting, but not quite this brutal, because not only are you looking for people who are going to be actors who are going to be right for Miles and Jack, Maya and Tara, her real name is Tara, it's also the chemistry between the two. So maybe you got a Miles you like, but the Miles and Jack, they have to kind of look right together. They have to have kind of a chemistry together, and then they have to have a chemistry with the girls. So it's a complicated process. But meanwhile, we're setting dates and everything else. So after 3 days of callbacks, we sat in the theater with, it was me and Amelia Mulkey, the director, Mikey Myers, the managing director, John Ruskin, who is the artistic director of the Ruskin Group Theatre, and Mike Riley, who's also a director and a production designer on this. And that was literally just the five of us, and we went back and forth, and it was the only time that there was ever any tension. There was never arguments. We never argued, and ultimately I had the final say in the casting, but it was a collaborative experience and or collaborative final choices, and we made the choices, and then we called all the actors to tell them that they had gotten the roles. There's 4 main roles. There's 1 secondary role, and then the rest are just tertiary. And we called him, and the guy we cast for Miles, he was so excited, he was practically crying. And then 2 hours later, he got a call that his father had a heart attack. He was in the hospital, and 2 days later, he died.
Very sad.
Yeah. I called him, and I consoled him, and anyway, he still is our Miles, So you're dealing with real people here and real problems and things. So yes, casting was really hard, and I learned a lot from this, Thitia, because there's no question that because Sideways is so, the branding of that, I hate to use the word branding because it sounds so commercial, but it just, everybody knows about Sideways so much, and there's no question this play is going to go to London. It's going to go to New York. I'd love to go to London next. I told you this. I just think there's such a great theater town, and I think they would love there's a real celebration of language in the play, and I think they would really love it. And of course, with the high-end wine being poured, we'll try to replicate that experience. So it will be different when we go to different places, because we probably won't take the cast with us. We would have a new director. Maybe we would take the director. I don't know. But we went to Broadway, we'd definitely take the director. But if we went to London, probably I'd have to find a new director and a new cast, and we'd go through the whole process all over again, Yeah, so it would be, be pretty exciting. And it'd be exciting to see the play in a larger theater, maybe 200-300 or more, because the laughter is more infectious.
That's true.
The larger. I remember when I saw Sideways, the film. I've seen it with as many as 2,000 people, and it's a very different experience than when you see it with 50.
Yeah, that's
But also the intimacy of this theater, though, we can't deny how wonderful that is. How close you are to them, Thitia. It's so I don't know. It's a whole new thing for me. I've never done theater before. I'm not sure I'll ever do it again. Everyone says, Rex, what's your next play? When are you going to write another play?
No, but it really sounds like a very, very exciting experience that you're actually going through at the moment. And I know that you were saying that there is also this new thing about wine tasting, actually, before going into the theater, and that's something that I really find interesting from a viewer point of view, because it is like making the whole experience of Sideways wider than just watching the play. Like there is like some kind of collateral experience for the viewer, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when I decided to do the play over a year ago, one of the first things that came up, aside from the writing, is that I wasn't going to have people walk into the foyer and only have a choice of Heineken and Yellowtail Merlot in a plastic cup. That just wasn't going to happen. I also knew that there was a good chance that we could get winemakers to line up and want to cross-promote with the play. So I met this woman about 6 months ago on Twitter, maybe 8 months ago, and she's a wine consultant, but her husband is also a winemaker, and I introduced the idea to her to have wines, and she is the one, her name's Barbara Drady, and she's just been amazing, and she has lined up, I mean, think about this, you're coming to this small theater, it seats only about 65 people, you walk up to the front, included in the price of admission. I said, I don't want anyone to take their wallets out. And you walk into the foyer, and there's a beautiful table with a white tablecloth, proper stemware, these beautiful Pinot Noir glasses. and the winemakers will be there in person. Every night is a different winery. They're small boutique wineries, mostly Pinot Noir, but we'll probably have other things. They'll pour maybe one or two different wines, and you'll walk in, and it'll be like walking into a tasting room, is what it will be like. And I wanted that experience because so much of what Sideways was about wine and wine appreciation and the love of wine. And sure, there is a book and a movie and now a play that has deeper themes of, of failure and loss and life is short and, grasping at straws and, and relationships and love and all these other themes. But wine is a very, very big part of it, and I wanted it to be integral to the experience. And I wouldn't put this play on. I had a guy from South Africa who's got a 200-seat theater. He just totally wants to play. And I said, well, we'd have to do it in conjunction with wine. He says, oh, don't worry, I'm a wine critic, and we'll have different winemakers here every night, whatever. I said, great, so we'll see where it plays next. But I want to replicate that experience that when you come to the theater, it'll be like a wine tasting, and then you'll go into the theater. You won't be able to take the glass in with you because it'd be a drag if they broke, but you can pour it into a plastic cup if you want. Then at intermission, they'll open some more bottles. I mean, we're talking $40, $50, $60 bottles of wine, and the winemakers love it because they have their own website, Sideways the Play Wines, and it tells who's going to be at this, who's going to be pouring. Tonight is, I think it's Sonoma Coast, which is a very small boutique winery. They make only 350 cases of wine. I didn't want like big winemakers like Mondavi or Coppola or whatever. I wanted small wineries who could benefit from being, associated with the play. And that's been a real joy of mine to make that part happen too, that it's a whole experience. But of course, ultimately, I want people to like the play and be moved by it and laugh and feel something when they go out, which is what I've always been about with my art.
Absolutely. And listen, Rex, one thing that I would like to ask you, when tonight you are going to be actually in the theater and, it's going to be there, the big moment, what is going to be in your mind?
Well, the first thing that's going to be in my mind is 1 milligram of Xanax. It's, I mean, I think for me I won't say I was worried last week because some of the previews were a little bit rusty, but they did 5 in a row, and the gala on the 12th, they really nailed it about 90%. But I guess for me, it's funny how sometimes the audience won't laugh at things I want them to laugh at, and other times they'll laugh even harder than I expected them to laugh at certain things. I want to try to take away the joy of those things. I certainly want them to feel something. The ending is more emotional than the movie. Unfortunately, I'm kind of I'm a very critical person. A lot of artists are very perfectionistic, and we see only the flaws in a way. And I hope to be able to I hope to see something from the actors I haven't seen before. That's what's going to be in my mind is I hope to see them do things, little things, moments that just take something to a new level that they've been trying and working on that just make that scene play even better, even funnier or more emotionally powerful, and that they really, I guess that will be in my mind. And then I'll come out. It'll just kind of be that whole experience. And then I'll watch it on Sunday again because the critics are there. It's a matinee and I have a lot of friends coming. And then after that, I probably won't. Maybe I'll go 4 weeks in or something, but my job is over. I hope to see tonight something that's just 10% better than what I saw last Saturday. And it would be, even if they flub a line or a few scenes don't quite work, that the whole experience, that there was a lot of laughter, and by the end of the play that people were moved by the journey of this guy, Miles, who is really me and who is really somebody who, took a lot of hits as I did in the 90s and then ultimately triumphed with something. Of course, in his case, he doesn't totally triumph, but there is redemption at the end of this play. There kind of is in the movie, but I think you're going to see something a lot of people are going to see something different in the play. Miles, as played by Paul Giamatti in the movie, is in the book, Miles which is written in first person standpoint of me, is really a pretty funny guy, and he says a lot of funny stuff, and in the play he does too. In the movie, Miles is a guy who Paul Giamatti is a guy you laugh at because of certain things he does, but you don't really laugh at anything he says, and I think there's a slight difference there. And Thomas Hayden Church as Jack he's great. I love the movie. I just want to make make sure everyone understands that. But it is different. I mean, Jack in the movie is a dick, basically. He's a jerk. And in the play, he has more heart. He has more depth. And you'll see that because it comes from the novel. So I hope that I get people telling me that I guess this is the answer, long-winded answer to your question is, I hope people tell me, boy, this was really a different experience from the movie, because the one great fear over this last year is, are you going to be able to live up to the expectations of the movie? And the answer is I don't want to live up to the expectations of the movie. I want you to see, I want you to see into the heart of the novel, which the movie did vis-a-vis Alexander Payne's slant on it, his take on it, which was brilliant, don't get me wrong. It was more satiric in a way than I think the play is, which is a little bit more personal and heartfelt. And I hope that I get the feeling or hear from people that that's what they took away from it.
And we really hope the same for you. And listen, Rex, how long actually the play will be in the theater?
It'll run 12 weeks. It's going to run initially, to give the actors a break, 3 nights a week, Friday through Sunday a matinee. Then they'll sort of broaden it from Thursday through Sunday. But we'll already, Thitia, start entertaining offers about where we want to go next with it. There's, we definitely want to go to a big city now, whether it be New York, whether it be London, possibly Chicago. These are like 3. Chicago's a big theater city, and to maybe like a 250 seat house. And but here in Santa Monica, it will run for 12 weeks.
So for the very lucky people that are actually in that area, we would like to invite all of them, to actually go into the theater there in Santa Monica. And is there a way actually that people can buy tickets or contact, I don't know, website or something?
Yeah. Absolutely. And in fact, when we were talking about ticket prices, because it's equity waiver, the ticket prices are shockingly $25. $25. I mean, the wine alone, because you'll be able to drink at least probably a glass or glass and a half if you're sneaky enough. The wine alone would probably cost you $20. So you would go to the Ruskin Group Theatre.com, RUSKIN Group Theatre.com, and there on that website you'll see Sideways tickets, or you can follow them on Twitter at Sideways the Play, or follow me, Rex Pickett, and whatever. It should be pretty easy to find. But RuskinGroupTheatre.com, $25. I mean, free, and the wine is free. You do not have to pay for it. It is part of the price of admission. I want to emphasize that. So.
Listen, Rex, it was absolutely a pleasure to have you back on our show today, and we wish you absolutely all the best tonight for the premiere.
All right, thank you, Thitia. It's always lovely to see you as well.
Thank you.
Bye.